I help my clients sort of dig into their subconscious programming, recognize what their limiting beliefs are that are keeping them stuck, and then I take them through a process to sort of rewire their subconscious. We were not taught about our emotions. Like we were mentioning that movie Inside Out, right?
Yeah.
Let's name your emotions. Let's talk about emotions. Like we've done a great job raising a generation of children that are, understand it's okay to feel a certain way and let's talk about these emotions. But Gen Xers raised by baby boomers, it was like, you don't know emotions, that doesn't have a place here at the dinner table.
John Henry, The Good Hustle, episode 300, 38, 39.
We're more than one.
More than one. So we are well over a baker's dozen. And we are proud to have our sponsor, Bagel Boutique, brought to us today by our guest, which is awesome. Thank you, Jackie and Steve. We love you guys.
I love bagels.
Yeah, yes.
Love them very much.
I hope there's a French toast bagel in there with a bacon cheeseburger.
There is a French toast bagel in there. I did get one of those, but I didn't get bacon cheeseburger or anything.
Oh, I didn't smell the bacon, so I kind of figured it out. But we are excited to be here. I'm John Henry.
I'm Zach Williamson.
What do we do?
We are realtors here in central Pennsylvania. So if you're looking, I know a lot of people were waiting for post-election. It is post-election now. So
it is.
So if you're looking to start shopping, start looking for that next place, please let us know. John and I would love to help you.
Yeah, there was kind of a lull, like just kind of people waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, everyone kind of
That
froze
happens
for
every 4 years.
a couple
Yep.
of weeks.
Every
Everyone
4
kind of
years.
froze and was
Yep.
like, let's wait and see.
Let's
what
see what the
happens.
interest rates do and let's
Mhm.
go. So, but neither here nor there. I was at an event, met an amazing woman a few weeks ago. Thank you, Shannon Claire and Faulkner Maserati. Was at a really cool event that they had for Halloween. And I recognized the woman there and I was like, oh, I know you from somewhere. And we ended up deciding, oh yeah, we're friends on Facebook. And we have an amazing guest named Christine Knapp. She is a neuro coach, which we're going to kind of get into your backstory, like Zach's suggestion, like this is, what we want to talk about. But we also want to know, like, and get an understanding of what neuro coaching is. Because obviously I have some brain issues. People on the show know this. People, my friends, family, everybody know Taylor. Everybody knows this.
We know. Yeah.
But what exactly is neuro coaching?
Yes, that's a great question. So neurocoaching, so you may have some brain issues, but the fact is that everyone has some brain issues
Correct,
too,
yeah.
right? Not that I'm trying to minimize your injury, but basically, what this boils down to is 90% of our decisions, actions, and behaviors originate from our subconscious neural programming. And up until age 7, children are in a purely hypnotic state, meaning their brains are being wired, their neural pathways are growing, they're being wired according to the influences around them, their caregivers, society, things that are going on culturally. And so that sort of sits in their subconscious and determines their success or failure in the world. It determines, how much they are willing to push themselves, what they're willing to accept, what they're not willing to accept. And so neuro coaching, I help my clients sort of dig into their subconscious programming, recognize what their limiting beliefs are that are keeping them stuck. And then I take them through a process to sort of rewire their subconscious so that they can exceed their expectations and they can get to the next level in their business and personal life.
Wow. So we
Yes.
talk about limiting beliefs a lot in real estate and
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
entrepreneurship
100%. Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. I'm guessing you probably work with a lot of people in fields like that, right? Like entrepreneurs and realtors
Absolutely.
and stuff like that.
Entrepreneurs for sure. And the reason that I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and the reason that entrepreneurs are attracted to understanding how their minds are keeping them stuck is that entrepreneurs are constantly like, if you want to succeed in your business, you need to look in the mirror every day, right? One of the things that I remind myself of every morning when I wake up is everywhere, like wherever you go, there you are, right? So if you want to know what's not working in your life or in your business, look in the mirror. And you look in the mirror and realize that there's some mindsets going on that are impacting your behaviors and your decisions and your actions every day that are keeping you from achieving the success that you want. Whereas like people who And, people who tend to be in more corporate positions or, in jobs where they're not constantly trying to expand their influence, expand their business, get to the next level financially, they don't really run up against themselves as much, right? They
Mm.
stay in a comfort zone.
Yeah.
So whenever we're trying to expand and grow and improve ourselves, improve our business, we constantly run up against ourselves. We get to a place of resistance, and when we get to the place of resistance where we haven't been before, that's when the limiting beliefs all kick in,
Right.
and we have like an angel on our shoulder and a devil on our shoulder.
Sure.
And that devil is all that negative self-talk telling you you can't do it, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, people aren't going to like your idea. Those are limiting beliefs. And so what I do with my clients is to really dig down
Mm.
and help identify. Sometimes we identify where they came from. Sometimes there's a monumental moment in their past. Sometimes it's just a lifetime of negative thinking, but we figure out what it is and then we rewrite the script.
Right.
They write a new script for themselves.
Let me ask you a question about that. So, and honestly, when you were talking in the beginning, talking about the first 7 years of life, I just started thinking about how many people are taught such negative thoughts as
Oh,
children.
for sure.
And I literally was tearing up inside because I kept thinking about just people that I don't even know and just how they were raised
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the negative thoughts that they're filled with, or the bad behaviors, or just the way their parents act with each other, or whatever they're seeing outside. And I'm just visualizing how many people don't get the proper instructions as children, like
Yeah.
just to be a better person. And then I was starting to think a little bit about how, like, my brother and my sister and I are like identical, except
Mhm.
I like to hug. She hates hugs. Like, besides that, we're pretty identical. Well, actually, I'm a very people person. She just wants to punch everybody. Just kidding. Well, she doesn't want to do that. But like the way my brother and I grew up in the same household, but yet we're so different. Like, so how does that affect the brain? Like, you have one person, I mean, there's a lot that goes with personality too. Like, your brain is your brain. So how
Mhm.
do you like understand the difference of like one person and another person that were raised the same way, but are completely different?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I do think that some people have a greater level of resilience than
Mm.
others. But is your brother older than you?
He is. Yep.
Okay, so a lot of times the oldest child they have depending on where you were at in the age range, you're gonna have a different experience.
Yeah.
And when as a mother, I know that like I made what I would consider like the most mistakes, like things that I wish I could do differently with my oldest,
Yeah.
right? So the oldest is sort of like you have your first kid and you're trying to do everything perfect and then you've got this programming and this wiring from how you were raised
Yeah.
and and you start to realize, like for me I started to realize, oh, I could be doing this a little different. Then my second one comes along and I'm like, okay, I fixed some of these mindsets that I was limiting my behavior as a mother. So I think, every individual just has a different experience growing up.
Because he's actually the better one. But it's funny because like when you talk about like just mindset and difference, like and you're right, you see the world at a different pace than I would have seen it. And then I was the baby, and it wasn't always the easiest time as a child, so I became the peacemaker.
Oh, the people pleaser.
Yeah, I'm the people pleaser.
Oh,
So that's what I
yes.
was as a child because I was the baby. So I
Yes.
was the one trying to comfort
You're still a
everybody.
baby, John.
Yeah, I'm still just a
Uh-huh.
big baby. I
Uh-huh.
just
Yep.
stopped sucking my thumb 3 years. Just kidding. It's been longer than that. I'm just
Right,
kidding.
right. Yeah.
No, but seriously, like I'm the peacemaker. So it's kind of funny when you look back at like, and then my sister and I, like we're boom, 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 45, 46, 47.
Yeah.
Like that's how old we are. We're like right in a row. So
Mhm.
yeah.
And so as a peacemaker and a people pleaser, that personality, if that's a really strong, facet of who you are as an individual, people tend to really hold on to the trauma or even just the disagreements and the things that are going on around them. And it's heavy, right? It's very heavy. If you're wanting everyone to just be peaceful, that's a heavy weight to bear.
You are so right with how I feel about everything. I want to be the peacemaker of everything. I
Uh-huh.
don't want any argumentation.
Mhm.
Like I hate it, like with a passion.
Absolutely. And
Crucial
so
conversations, suck at them. Like I just suck at it. Like I don't want to do it.
And so when we're feeling uncomfortable and we're taking on emotions, we've got our own emotions and we're taking on emotions of others. What do people typically do when they're feeling heavy and burdened?
I just take naps.
We take naps But if you take naps now and it's wonderful and that's good, but when you are going through life sort of on autopilot, like our natural tendency is to sort of numb ourselves, right? We
Right.
numb ourselves.
That's why
We reach
I was a drug addict.
we reach for drugs, we reach for alcohol, we reach for, whatever it is. Maybe we have a shopping addiction, whatever it is.
Sure. Like coping mechanisms.
Mechanisms, absolutely, because especially like, we're Gen Xers. We were not taught about our emotions. Like we were mentioning that movie Inside Out, right?
Yeah.
Let's name your emotions. Let's talk about emotions. Like we've done a great job raising a generation of children that are, understand it's okay to feel a certain way, and let's talk about these emotions. But Gen Xers raised by baby boomers, it was like, you don't know emotions, that doesn't have a place
so
here at the
interesting.
dinner table,
Yeah.
right? And so it's just a generational
Yeah.
thing.
Because I
Yeah.
don't remember talking about feelings at the dinner table. Did you
Nope,
guys?
you shoved it down.
Well, so yeah,
Well,
Because he had a
little
much
you're a
different
little
childhood.
younger,
So
right?
I'm 29.
Yeah,
So
okay,
I think my
yes.
generation was
Yes, you
about where
were.
it started.
Yes.
And now the generation under me, like I was a youth pastor for 2 years.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm starting to see it's even more accelerated for people that are 15,
Yes.
16 today and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess so we've talked a lot about how people's background shapes them and molds them and the first 7 years and all that stuff. And I'm guessing when you were growing up, you weren't saying to everyone, "Hey, I'm going to be a neuro coach someday," right? That was probably not the first thing on your mind. Although maybe it was, maybe it was.
Yeah.
So can you get us a little bit of your story of like how you ended up here today and the background that shaped you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's funny. No, I didn't say I wanted to be a neuro coach, but I do remember at a very young age thinking this very odd thought. Like, I want to I want to get into people's brains and fix what's wrong with them. Okay. I don't know why. I just remember I wanted to do that. It's very odd. I also believe that as children, I think that everyone is born into this world with certain gifts. We have our own unique gifts and our way of moving through the world that is meant to raise people up and help, right? And when we can step into our power and use our gifts, we become servants, right? We're serving others, and collectively we can rise. So we're given certain gifts, and because of society and the people around us, that kind of gets conditioned out of us, like that innate desire of what we're going to do or how we're going to impact the world, that gets conditioned out of us depending on what it is and who you're surrounded by. So I did want to do that at a young age. I was always fascinated with psychology. I wanted to go into school for psychology. And I was, advised against it because that was the 90s. I graduated from high school in 1992. And it wasn't a thing that people did much in the 90s. So I went to school for business. Yeah.
Okay.
But then, fast forward 2014, I started a magazine here locally.
Oh, yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah. So I started a magazine. I went through a period of time in 2012 where I consider that a monumental year. I consider it the year that I woke up. And by that, I mean, before that, I had a little bit of a victim mindset, meaning things that weren't going well around me, I blamed other people. Okay. So I was a little bit of victim. And in 2012, I remember it was a moment where I was on the beach with my girlfriends. We were on a cruise, and all of a sudden it hit me, and I realized everything in my life in that moment that was not going well was something that I created and also said yes to.
Can we? I'm sorry, John.
I had the exact moment. That's how I got sober. It was a monumental, and I've spoken about this to thousands of people, but it was a monumental moment where I realized I was in the middle of a night of drugs and alcohol. I mean, all day, like just a crazy day. And I remember being like, wow. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have to do this anymore. I don't have to live like this. I'm like, there is nobody forcing me to do this except for myself. And it was the first time that I realized, like, I don't have to live like this.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that I was like, because after I had a really bad accident when I was 19, of course I was the victim.
Mm-hmm.
And then I used that for 9 years to drink and drive and just hurt myself even more and more and hurt people around me. But in 2008, when I finally hit that moment, it was like, wow, I don't want to be this person. I don't want to live like this. And I had to have that monumental moment. And I've had many of them small monumental moments since then, but I'm still struggling with things. Like there's still powers in my brain that I struggle with.
Yeah.
That like when you're talking about in here, like just transformational mindset,
Hmm.
like just to change how my mind works, like to get up this morning, like I struggle with, I wake up and I lay in bed drinking coffee until the very last minute. Then I have to rush around the house. Like, why can't I do something different than that? Like, I need to figure that part out. And I think that's kind of the stuff that you can help with, correct?
Yeah, yes, correct. Absolutely. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
were you going to say? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. That was no, that was interesting. I was just gonna ask you for basically what John was saying is like on this cruise
Yeah.
is when you figure this out. So I'm so curious as to like what the moment was, maybe what like how does that happen? Like what happened
Yeah,
to you
you're
that
on the
was like
beach.
There was there was a series of events
okay.
that
Do tell.
no, I'm not going to tell. There was a series of events, and I think part of it too was I was at the beach and I was surrounded by the ocean, and that ocean is it's very calming, the
Yes.
water, right? And I was in a
Nature,
safe
yes.
space with my best friends, and I was away from home.
Mhm.
For the first time being a stay-at-home mother. My daughter was born in 2005. This was 2012. I was sort of just coming out of being a mom and being sort of numb, very like going through the motions of my life, like on autopilot, but not really experiencing true joy on a daily basis. And I mean, I did with my children, right? But overall, there was a lot of things that were stressing me out. And so I had that moment where it was like, okay, Christine, you know what? If you want things to change and you want to feel good and confident and comfortable every day, then you've got to start making changes. So I've been on that journey now for 12 years. In 2014, I found this opportunity to start a magazine, and it was a franchise. And I started my first magazine on the West Shore here, and it went really well. I mean, it went like gangbusters. And so,
Cool.
And it was in different neighborhoods, right?
it
We
went.
talked
It was
about
a
this, right?
neighborhood magazine.
Right.
Yep. And the company's still in business, and we still have some magazines in the area. But yeah, it went to affluent communities, and we wrote articles about the people in the communities, and then it was supported by advertising. And so it was a blessing in so many ways because it gave me the freedom to stay at home with my kids during the summer. It gave me the flexibility, and I could build a business and create an income. And so what happened was I was pretty successful with it right off the bat. And so then the franchise owners pegged me to start mentoring other franchise owners around the US.
Oh wow.
So this
So
is how
I was-
you've gotten into coaching for the past decade.
Right, exactly. So I started mentoring, business owners, people who were trying to start their own magazine. And because again, wherever you go, there you are. And so when you own your own business and you're running a magazine, it's like it's you, right? It's going to be a succeed or it's going to fail based on your efforts, and your efforts are determined by the thoughts in your head. So I, coached. They eventually created a coaching department. I got a coaching certificate through International Coaching Federation, and that was very helpful. Eventually, I was promoted to run a coaching department, so I was in charge of 40 coaches.
Wow.
And we coached 500 franchise owners around the U.S.
Oh my
Amazing.
Yeah,
goodness.
it was, yeah.
That's what you call boss.
Yeah, yeah, it was,
For sure.
yeah. It was a fun little power trip every now and then, but
That's awesome. That's
yeah.
really
Did you like
cool.
just find yourself flexing in the mirror and be like, "Yep,
Oh,
I did
totally.
this.
No, no.
this is mindset."
Watch this. Yeah.
that is like super fascinating though how because I think there's probably plenty of people that'll watch this and be like hearing a story of like, you know what, I just changed my mindset on the beach one time and then I become a super mega boss, right? And
Yeah.
I know there's obviously like a million steps in
A
between.
million steps, a million
Correct.
steps, and a million failures.
Yes.
A million
Oh.
steps and a million failures.
We-
Yeah. Yeah,
If
absolutely.
There's no successful person out there that hasn't
Right.
had failures.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Yeah.
Because those are the people that are complacent. They're afraid to fail.
Yes.
They're the ones that are stuck in these jobs or these lifestyles
Yes.
that, and some people
That
are
don't fulfill them.
some people are comfortable that way.
Yeah.
Like there's just some people that they like the calmness.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, I'm jealous of some of those people.
Same.
Yeah.
Because I'm
you're
like,
not
wait,
wrong.
so you're home every day at 5. Like you eat dinner, you relax, you watch TV, you go to work, you're happy, you do this, you do that, and that's as simple as it gets. You watch whatever sports team on
Monday
the
Night
weekend.
Raw,
Yeah,
every
Monday
Monday.
Night Raw.
Yeah.
And like that's your life and you're happy. And I'm like, my gosh, I don't freaking even get home till 8 o'clock like every night.
Yeah.
Like it's just like
And then we're writing contracts.
it's non.
yeah.
Yeah, like last night I was negotiating all night long
Mhm.
with the deal. I have new listings coming up. Like it's
Yeah.
just like it's non-stop. And my phone rings at 8:50 last night, and it's somebody that wants to start investing. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just I just want to watch football.
Yeah.
Like, but it doesn't work that way for me. So like,
Yeah.
but there's also a time where I need to, my brain, my mindset, and like we're kind of get into like what you're talking about, self-imposed prisons and bad neural pathways created. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
this thing is the death of me.
Oh,
Like
the
it's the
phone.
first thing I
Yeah.
pick up. It's the
Oh.
last thing I put down. Like, and I just want to be like,
Mhm.
just put it down, John. Like I go to take a nap because I take a nap every day at like, let's say 1:30. When
Yeah.
do I start my nap? 2 o'clock because I just watch videos for half an hour.
hmm Yeah, but
Put the damn phone
your
down.
brain might need some time to compress though.
Yeah,
Like
I'd
we
spend
have
too much
to.
time. It's too much time.
Yeah.
Like I go
Mm-hmm.
like my to my brain to compress, like or decompress, whatever you want to call it. Like I should be putting the phone down. Like for me, that's what needs that. Just and I struggle with that. Like I just feel like it's what's it?
Well, there's an addiction. There's a you're
FOMO?
getting some dopamine hits.
Yeah, FOMO.
You're getting the dopamine hit,
Well,
and
the problem for us too is our phone is also our work most
Yeah.
of the time too.
mm-hmm,
I
yeah,
love
yeah.
DND. Do not disturb.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Oh, yeah, I use that all
My
the time.
favorite
Yeah.
thing in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
It is.
I know you have it on a lot too.
And I'll get
Yeah.
I'll get a lot of people who'll be like they'll text or call nap time. Nap. I guess I called during nap time. I'm like, yeah, that's
Right,
right. You
right.
know not to call between the hours of 2 and 6. I'm just kidding.
Well, I wanted to add one thing onto what John was saying. So John mentioned and you mentioned the word numb a lot.
Yes, no, yeah.
And
Mm.
I've known people in my life, and I'm sure you have too, and I'm sure John has too, of people who they would love to expand their horizons, switch their mindset, get into a career that they're more passionate about, all that stuff. But you know, they have the golden handcuff situation, or maybe
Yep.
the resistance to switching from a 9 to 5 and stuff. You know, it's much easier to be numb than to maybe go through all of the work.
Yeah.
And there's all those limiting beliefs involved with that of like, you know, it might not be successful. You know, if you want to get into real estate, 90% of people fail out in the first 2 years, all those kind of limiting beliefs and statistics you can throw at yourself, right? So what are kind of some of the conversations you have with people that are in a, I guess you would call it numb state, but want to branch
Well,
out and change?
Before you answer,
Yeah.
I want you to also talk about you transferring from
Right.
that in 2023 where you're W-2.
Yeah.
So you're coaching people on something you did 2 years ago. Now, you've always been coaching for the last decade, but it's also something that you made a big jump for yourself.
Yes.
So yeah, sorry, I just want
Right.
to add that to the question.
Right, and that the two are very they go hand in hand. So so that was, I mentioned the word numb, and because I realized how numb I was going through the motions, and so one of the greatest objectives for myself was to not be numb, right? To really wake up every day and feel at peace and feel happy and joyful. I used to wake up every day and feel like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. And so I took myself through my own coaching process where I said, okay, I feel like the weight of the world is on my shoulders. I feel stressed out. I feel numb. I feel overwhelmed. So then I started looking at my life. I one of the first things I do with my clients is I encourage them to create like a third-party observer mindset to get curious about themselves, right? A natural curiosity about themselves. What are you agreeing to every day? Okay, you're feeling this way. What is making you feel this way? What thoughts do you have about what is happening in your life? And you've got to take an overall assessment, and then one by one, you start to realize what's creating the stress, what's creating the numbness, what's creating dissatisfaction, and you just change it one by one, gradually over time. And so I set off on a journey to do that. The last thing was the job. So I agreed. I took the W-2 role, and I did that for 2 years. And before that, of course, I was a business owner running those magazines as a 1099. I had my time freedom. Everything was mine. I love to have the challenge because I get bored. So it was a big challenge to run that department. And I enjoyed it and I loved the people that I worked with, but my time wasn't my own. And I still felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. So what happens usually, people will change through like an internal locus of control or an external locus of control. Sometimes people are forced into change, right? There's something happens in their life. Like your life can change in a moment. So all of a sudden you lose your job, something happens tragically in your family, and all of a sudden you are faced with this prospect of like, wait, my comfort zone just went away, right? And then that's a great opportunity to seek coaching, or sometimes people seek counseling depending on what it is. But internally, I just couldn't do it anymore. I just didn't want to wake up and continue on that path. And I got the neurocoaching certificate, neurocoaching training. And I went through my own rewiring process that wired my brain to say, you know what? I can do this. Like, I can quit my job as a single mom, raising 2 kids, never having financial support. And I can do this and and it's going to be successful. And so I wired my subconscious so that when I quit, felt relieved. I've never felt scared a moment in my
Like,
life. Like,
that's crazy to do that, especially being a single mom. Like, and I know, like, we talked about that the day like that we met was, single mom, big life transformations. Like, to have that mindset is huge because the fear that goes with that has to be like deafening. Like, I would
I would
drive.
imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not, I would, yeah, it took me 2 years to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
It's not easy.
no,
That's amazing. I love
yeah,
that. I love that for you. Like,
thank
just the
you.
fact that you can go out and say, listen, change my mindset. Here's what I'm going to do. And that's the thing. That's what you're coaching. You're coaching
Yes.
people to have the ability to make changes in their life that they're too afraid to do, or that they don't have the neural path. Like,
The
there's no,
neural pathways to do it.
yeah.
Right. Right. But anything's possible. So, if you're one of the example that I like to use is if you've ever moved, so everyone's moved, you guys are real estate agents, you moved, right? People move. What's a place that everyone goes to often? A grocery store. Most people have to make trips to the grocery store or the gas station, right? When you first move, you have to sort of think about the route, right? You
Of
you
course.
kind of have to
Yeah.
like consciously think, what's the best route? Oh, it's rush hour. What's the best route to the grocery store? Over time, you don't think about that anymore
Yeah.
because you thought that enough times, you went through those motions enough times that it's a neural pathway. So as easy as it is to create that route to the grocery store, it is that simple to wire your brain with thoughts of like, I can do this. I've got this. Yes, I'm smart enough. Yes, it's going to be okay. And I know that failure is not an option. And if I put the right work in and the effort and I trust my intuition, I trust my relationship with a higher power, for me, that's very important, that it's going to be okay. It
Right.
might not look the way I think it's going to look. And then you have to that's also a process of success and is letting go of control and knowing that you're going to put in the effort and the outcome might look different and that's okay.
Yeah. And you know what? To me, like, I was just thinking, like, you're talking about these routes to the grocery store.
Hmm.
And I think this is what you help with. So when I go from point A to point B, and I do this route all the time, right? And I'm
Yeah.
going from here to here. Well, all of a sudden, I forgot I was going over here, and you just keep going.
Oh
And
yeah, that happens all the time. Right.
so you're there to like make sure to
That's
block this
exactly
old
right.
route, and let's point you into the route that we're going to now, because you're literally like, okay, I'm going to Giant. I go to the store every day, but I
Mhm.
forgot I was actually going to.
Mhm.
So I had to stop off at Sun Motors real quick to drop something off yesterday.
Mhm.
Well, then I just drove right by it
Right.
because I'm not used to going that route.
Mhm.
So for
Mhm.
like stuff that you can help people with is like, okay, now let's put that barricade up, block that old route. Let's put you on the right path to where you really want to go, which is the next steps in your life.
Yep.
And the one thing that we talked about also is like how big this is in sports.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
you've
Yeah.
had some opportunities to talk to some teams too recently, correct?
Yes, yes. I've talked to a high school football team and absolutely when you're out on the field, right? I asked the boys, I said, listen, and I do this with my clients and anyone can do this, right? You've got to really get quiet and think about the thoughts
Mhm.
that are going through your mind when you're out on the field, right? Or in everyday life, right? What are the thoughts? And recognize that those thoughts, they're not yours. We are not our thoughts. We're not our thoughts. But we can wire the thoughts that we want and change our identity. So the thoughts that were given to us, there's a parent saying you're not good enough, you're not fast enough, you're not strong enough. And recognize what that is. You write it down, you look at it, and then you decide to write down and believe the opposite thought. In that moment, pause and decide to switch from the angel or switch from the devil on the shoulder telling you that you can't do it to the angel saying, yes, you can do it.
Could you imagine being taught that like as a little child till you're 7, just
Yeah.
just fed those thoughts of you're not good enough or you can't do that. Like how hard it is to come out of that. And like, and I see it all the time,
Yeah.
especially in sobriety and people in sobriety. Like we are people that are, we are our thoughts, and that's our problem. Well, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, that was a big thing for me.
Right, right.
Yeah. I
Just
mean, I was just thinking the same thing of like the more you grow, and we've had so many very interesting, like successful, cool people on our podcast, and a lot of it does come down to taking thoughts captive and to mindset and to I'm not going to allow my circumstances to determine my life and like all of these kind of things, but they're not really things you ever grow up hearing until much later in life, and I hope that changes. Like obviously
Right.
the podcasting world, and there's a lot of like interesting books on that now, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
that's just
exploding right now, yeah.
right, and that's just not something anyone ever learned about growing up or anything
Well,
like
and
that.
part of that is because like what the field of neuroscience is relatively new in terms of science and, medicine. So they just really started to understand 20 years ago how the brain works. And so how it works is like we have a thought fires in our brain. If there's not a neural pathway for it, it actually uses energy. Energy is glucose. So it's the body's way of being super efficient. A thought fires if there's no neural pathway. It uses glucose. The body is always trying to preserve glucose to run all the other organs, right? Everything else that we do.
Mm.
So when you have a thought, you think a thought enough times, on average 60 times. If you think a thought, feel an emotion, the brain is going to go, oh, hey, this person is thinking this thought a lot. So I'm just going to wire it. So it's not using glucose. It just travels, right? It
wow.
just travels.
So that happens like over time in your brain. Like it just opens
That's
up, creates new pathways.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
I never knew that.
neuroplasticity.
Wow.
Neuroplasticity, that's what it's called. So
Oh,
we have a
okay.
thought first and then we have an emotion. So anytime a person is feeling an emotion, a thought preceded it. Whether
Mm.
and sometimes it's hard to find that thought. We have to dig around. We go on it. I work with my clients. I tell them like we're going to go on a journey inward. We're going to go on a journey deep, right? We're going to get to the root of this emotion. Sometimes, it takes a while. Sometimes it's right there. What
Yeah.
is that thought that's making you feel a certain way? And from that emotional place, we make decisions, we take actions, and those actions yield our results. So in that way, your results will always mirror that thought.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think my thoughts take longer because I have a hole in my brain. It has to go like way around. So like when I have my thought, it's like,
Okay, so right there, so that's actually a limiting belief.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I'm just,
I was wondering if she was going to call you out for that.
I do, but it's funny because like I just did this 2-day EEG, where I had, but like I had 25.
Yeah, you sent me
wires.
pictures.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I had
You look like you had like a nerd's rope attached to your head.
yeah, that's what it was. It had
Wow.
25 different colors. To it. It did
Oh
look
my
like a nerd's
goodness.
rope,
It
didn't
does look like a nerd's rope, yeah.
But I had to like, because they're trying to figure out where my brain is firing because it's like it's electric.
Yeah.
So like where it's
Where is it
firing.
firing? It's firing,
And
exactly.
obviously I have some issues up there from a brain injury, but ultimately it's like I can create new paths. Like this
Yes.
frontal space that's missing, I have new paths that are behind it now that are
Absolutely.
being created, and I can continue to build because they say, what do we say? We use 10% of our brain, and I think it's even less than that. I think what you ultimately use is less than that, and
Yeah.
you can build and create paths. Like so, learning a song. So you hear a song, you learn it. Well, you've just created new paths in your brain to learn that song. Correct?
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, that's neat.
That's right.
That's
yeah.
really cool. It's very interesting to hear the science side of it because you hear all the like the hoorah, like change your
Yes.
mindset part of it, but like you don't think
Right.
about the scientific background that
That's
that
right.
has too.
And that reminds me, like you go to let's say you go to a seminar,
Yep.
okay, and you're there for 6 hours.
And Tony Robbins is there.
Yeah. But you haven't created any pathways at
Right.
that seminar. So you're hoorah for 2 days and then
Okay.
nothing.
So Tony actually, did you ever go to one of his
Yeah,
UPW?
last year I was at one of his
Las
things.
Okay.
Vegas.
So
Yeah.
Tony is really big on temporary fixes, right?
Mhm.
So he will tell you you've got to change your physical state, which is a great thing to do, right? You're feeling down. One of the first things he said, like, change your physical state, get up and move your body, right? And that is something that I coach my clients through. Like, figure out what you need to do to get motivated, whether it's get up and go for a walk, turn on your favorite music and dance, something to raise your vibration and to start to feel better. But Tony actually does start to, I think this is just my perception from what I understand and having experienced a UPW online. I did it during COVID. But he does, when you're in the space with him, he is trying to change some neural pathways because he's getting you into a physical state, an emotional state, and having you think thoughts. And if that is powerful enough, you can create a neural pathway in a moment.
Wow.
Yeah. So like
Yeah.
if something very tragic happens to a person, like people who have severe PTSD, if you think about that, something very tragic happened in a moment. A neural pathway was created. The emotion was so strong that neural pathway was created, and now they're dealing with some severe PTSD.
Mm.
Yeah.
So it's just for the average everyday person who is trying to expand their business and expand, their capabilities. It takes a little bit longer, right? It takes longer to unwire, and it takes a little bit longer to wire because
Yeah.
the emotions aren't as strong.
And PTSD is a real thing. I mean, obviously, I've had
Oh yeah.
some things that have happened in my life where I've really suffered, and I've had to go see doctors and therapists and take certain medications. I work my way off medications because of things that have happened, that things that I've seen, and that's happened to a lot of people in my love life or in my life, that family, friends, significant others, my wife, whatever. Like they've seen things like my seizure or like my car accident. My mom still suffers from my car accident, which was 25 years ago.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's still a thing. Like, and then I suffer from thinking about them driving to the hospital at 4 a.m. that
Oh,
day, like, because it makes me feel like shit. I don't normally swear in here, but like just thinking about
Yeah.
what people have to go through because of things that I've done.
oh,
Like
that's
it's tough to
guilt. The
deal.
guilt.
Yeah, the guilt,
Guilt is heavy. Yeah,
guilt and
guilt,
anxiety,
shame.
and you
Yeah.
talk about it like how do you coach your clients to alleviate anxiety? Like how is that something that you can help somebody with?
Yeah. So first of all, it is a process of some rewiring and changing the perspective, releasing. It's about forgiving yourself. Like we'll coach through just forgiveness, understanding that we are all doing the best we can in that moment, right? You were doing the best you could when that happened, right? And yeah, sure, hindsight's 2020, and you look back and go
Yeah.
like, well, that wasn't very good. But if you really examine the events leading up to that and understanding, yourself now as an like empathic people pleaser, peacemaker, and what you were carrying,
Right.
right? It's no wonder, right? It's
Yeah.
it's no surprise. So it's about releasing judgment. But then also I take my clients through a process where we tap into the logical brain, the left side logic, and the right side of the right hemisphere, which is emotional. And we do some exercises for both sides of the brain, and we extract those thoughts and that are causing the root cause of the anxiety. We extract the thoughts, we write them down, the negative thoughts, and then they write the positive thoughts, and they speak that into a voice memo on their phone. The voice memo on your phone, right? If you've got an Apple phone,
Oh
I
yeah.
tell them to move that voice memo to their main screen, and then you listen to yourself telling yourself the positive statements that counteract the negative statements
Wow.
that are all surrounding the guilt and the shame that you have over that incident. And then you listen to that when your brain is in a theta state, right
Huh.
before you fall asleep at night, and right after you wake up in the morning. And then slowly you hear yourself saying these things. And then slowly that's that's the neural pathway, right? 60
Yeah.
times. You listen to it twice a day. You can listen to it while you're working out. But it's that simple. It's that simple.
Wow.
So, and that's, I'm very passionate about helping people release themselves from self-imposed mental prisons, right? We
Yeah.
are our own worst enemy. Like we've got these prisons in our brain that deal with, people pleasing, imposter syndrome.
We talk a lot about that.
Yeah. There's so much of that in real estate.
Yeah, people talk about that all the time
Big
because we
time.
don't like you're making a video and you don't feel like imposter syndrome is so big. Do you
Yeah.
want to talk a little bit about what that means for a
Imposter
listener
syndrome?
that doesn't
Yeah,
understand?
imposter syndrome means, right, that I'm like the success that you have, it's a fluke, right? I shouldn't be here. I don't deserve to be here.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is this is a fluke. This really isn't me. I only got here because people helped me because of this opportunity, and not being able to just own the success and own the fact that you have every right and you are worth everything that you want in life, right?
Mhm.
It really, I believe it has to do with some worthiness, right? It has to do with worthiness. It's like, yes, you are worth the opportunity to get online and make a video.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're worth all of the success and abundance that you're craving in the world. Life wants to move through you. Life wants to create through you, and you're worth that.
Right.
But our brains just like we're not, and the reason it happens with real estate agents and or anyone who is an entrepreneur is because you are pushing your boundaries. You're getting
Oh,
outside
yeah.
of your comfort zone.
Right.
You want more, you see the carrot, but in order to get there, you've got to like work through the mire of all the stuff going on between your ears. behaviors. People who stay comfortable, like what you said earlier, I have 1000% felt like, why do I have to constantly be trying to do more? Like, why
Right.
can't I just accept and be satisfied? Because it can be exhausting and it's tiring and it's uncomfortable. Growth is so uncomfortable.
Yep.
So for that person who's experiencing imposter syndrome, honestly, it's a good sign. They're
Yeah.
pushing themselves outside of their comfort zone. If they can just keep moving through that discomfort, peace and joy lie on the other side. Because our brains are wired to keep us safe. Our brains are wired to keep us safe. There is something about a brain that is technically diagnosed as ADHD, right? People with ADHD diagnosis typically, our large majority are entrepreneurs. There's something about how our brains are wired. Yeah, I have it.
Yep.
I didn't get diagnosed till I was 38 years old. I'm 50 now,
I've
right?
told Alyssa a million times that I'm pretty sure I'm undiagnosed
Yeah.
ADHD.
Oh, I
but
diagnosed you.
John
Episode 4.
But John is, we know many realtors that literally are ADHD diagnosed.
Well,
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's I love it. I love having this brain, but at the same time, it's
It doesn't
it can be
stop.
challenging.
No.
It
Yeah.
doesn't stop.
and I can tell you when I got sober, I'd been in real estate for a couple of years, and then I started becoming successful. I was 100% not worthy of what I was getting and how my life was working out and things that I was earning, whether it was respect or money or whatever. And I still look today, and I still look back at myself, and think, wow, like these people look up to me and ask me questions, and I'm like, and I still think of myself as like that idiot.
Yeah.
I'm like, do they really know who they're talking to? Like,
Exact same way. Yep.
I still have that. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, yep.
Like I still have those thoughts.
Yeah.
I'd like to get rid of them, but they do make me laugh sometimes.
Right.
Like, 'cause
right.
I'll think, my gosh, these people really look up to me. And I'm
If they
like,
only knew.
if they
only knew who I really was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have that thought all the time.
Yes.
Because
I get it.
Nate knows who I am, and he thinks that all the time, every time I have a show.
Hey.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. He just popped out from the.
He's gonna put a padlock on the door for
Yeah,
us.
he's like, but like that's the biggest thing is like how do and I think now what is your business now? What is the name of it?
Coaching with Christine.
Coaching
Yeah,
with
I got super creative with that.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
really nice.
Coaching with
What
Christine.
is your website?
Coachingwithchristine.com.
Okay.
Yep. And I'm on Instagram as Christine the Brain Coach. And I've got a
Okay.
LinkedIn
The
page.
brain coach. That's cool.
Christine the Brain Coach.
I
Yes.
like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think what you're doing is amazing.
Thank you so much.
I think your children are extremely lucky to have you as an influencer and as a mom.
Yeah.
I think
Thank
that's
you.
super important.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
sure-
want to minimize that because
Yeah.
like I can't even imagine, where you could take them having all of these.
If they are willing to
I-
listen.
I
Like my
hope-
daughter's 19. She's pretty receptive. My son is 16,
It'll take time.
I'm sure
Yes,
I'm sure
yeah.
they get annoyed, don't they?
Definitely. There's
Do you
when
ever
they-
just go in the room,
they're-
"Let's
they've-
fix
they've
that
been
neural pathway"?
moments where they've said, "Mom, don't coach me right now.
Yeah.
Don't coach me." I'm like,
Yeah,
I can't
mean,
help it.
and to be honest with you, it's got to be. They probably don't want to hear it from mom a lot of times.
Kids don't. Yeah.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. But I just want to say we're really grateful to have you on the show. I think Zach wants to ask you one last question, though.
Yeah, I guess so. If there's one tip you could give to just a general audience, like there's plenty of people here who are listening and they probably have never gotten into the world of coaching or mindset or anything like that.
Yeah.
If there's one tip for like how to get started, if they want to get started today on like, I just want to stop feeling the weight of the world today.
Yes. Yeah.
What is that one tip on like how to start a journey toward bettering themselves?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think a couple things. Number one, wherever you're here today, just you've got to forget the past and forgive yourself because usually if someone does want change, then they are to the point where they have owned the fact, ideally they've owned the fact that everything in their life right now is a result of themselves, something that they've said yes to that maybe they shouldn't have or did wish they didn't. And so forgive yourself. Like we've got the present is the gift, right? A present is a gift, right? I love how, the English language kind of put that together.
Mhm.
This is the gift right now. So looking backwards, like the more we look back and rehash the past, it just strengthens those neural pathways and makes you feel bad. So here it is, here you are, you're in the here and now, and start to get curious about yourself and what your motivations are and why you might be making the decisions that you make or doing the behaviors that you are doing that maybe you don't like. Start to get curious, forgive yourself, just observer, just observe yourself, an unbiased, non-judgmental observer. Try to let go of the critical thinking. It's easier said than done. I realize that, but you've got to start somewhere. So being curious and start to write down the thoughts that are coming up that are negative, and write down a thought that is positive.
Like an affirmation.
Like an affirmation, yes. But affirmations sometimes affirmations don't work because if there's somebody else's affirmations, right? So the reason that this neurocoaching is so powerful is because it's your words and it's your voice. It's the way you phrase things. And so it really does resonate and it does work in your brain a lot better that way.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we are super grateful. Please check out her website.
Yeah, thank you.
Check out her Instagram. And if it's something you really want to grow with and you have some blockages and you want to create some new pathways, I think just even reaching out to her and having a consultation would be really important to you in your business. Whether it's for business, personal reasons, sports, whatever it is, or even if you have kids that you think they could use the help,
Yeah.
please reach out because I think she's got something really awesome, especially locally for Central Pennsylvania. So
Awesome.
thank you so
yeah.
much.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah,
on here,
thank you so much
guys.
for coming
This
on.
was a lot
That
of
was
fun.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
You guys are great. Yeah,
Thanks,
you're doing
appreciate
some great stuff here with your podcast too.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Yeah,
well,
love
John,
it.
thank John's on Fire for my Travis Scott's and Jackie and Steve for
Yeah,
the
shout out to
bagels.
Jackie again for the bagels.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.